from us.
Good morning.
And today's video is all about making the blinds for the front cab of the van. It was quite a process, and I didn't actually explain why I was doing what I was doing. So basically we are looking for a blackout for the front cab so that the whole interior is not visible from outside. This is especially during nighttime, if we're camping or sleeping over somewhere, whether it be in the city or other campgrounds or on our own. It's just to make sure that it's completely private, and also that no light shines through so that you can't actually see if somebody's in the van or not. It also, because we're traveling through most of winter, it's also to help with insulation of the windows. So what I did is I bought this very big piece of foam, I don't know if you can see all that, which is for flooring, I think.
I don't know, what's it say there? It's got a label.
They said it's for flooring. Foam black, that's all it says.
Oh, okay. So it's 10mm thick black foam in 1 meter square sheets.
Yeah. So, because initially I thought of felt, and I don't know, it was quite difficult for me to get my head around this. And then when I saw this foam in the hardware shop, I thought, well, this might work. So what I did is I cut out the panels of it. Somehow I lost that video, which is fine actually. I made a cardboard, what do you call it, template first,
yeah.
And then I cut the foam out, and then I measured that, and then from there what we did, we actually ordered on Amazon just sunshades for the van,
which was supposed to be specifically for that van, but typically with this sort of thing it's made just too small.
Yeah, the side windows were right, but the windscreen actually was much too small. But anyway, I used that again as a template, and I used that as the front because it's silver, it's reflective, and then I put a black backing behind it, and then I sewed in the foam thing. Now the windscreen was quite a problem because there's nowhere to actually attach the blind. So we thought that
in the vehicle there's nowhere to attach.
Okay, in the vehicle, when you're putting it up, there's nowhere to attach it. So we thought that the foam would just add some rigidity. Basically, everything goes under the visors, and the visors hold it in place. But the foam still, I had to cut it up so that we could make it more manageable. So it folds up like a concertina style, but the foam was still too floppy. So then we looked around and we eventually found aluminium rods, very thin aluminium rods, which John flat bar, which John cut to size, and we used that, which helped a little bit, but it was still quite a problem to actually try and make sure that it's secure. So I've made sure that the foam boards go all the way to the edge so that they can sort of, what would you call it, slot into, there's just a little bit of ridge on the side, so they can just slot into that. The big mistake I made initially is I didn't have enough material, especially for the tops. You actually need to have quite a lot of material so that you can stuff it around and stuff it at the top to try and really make sure that no light shines through, because again we've got the rear view camera, it's not a mirror but it's actually a camera, and that messes things up as well, so you've got to make sure that you've got material going around that. But anyway,
this was Hanneke's project.
It was my big project,
and it's been her nightmare for weeks now, and she's growing accustomed and starting to swear almost as much as I did.
Yes, I did swear a lot. Because
when she missewed things or sewed something and didn't look at the back and had found she'd caught something else in it and had to spend hours unpicking it all. So it's been a test of patience for her.
Yeah, it's been good. I've actually enjoyed it. I'm not mechanically minded whatsoever. I have 2 left hands. The last time I used a sewing machine was in
many years ago.
Many years ago. The reason for that here is that we have tailors on almost every street corner, and they're very cheap. So whenever you need any sewing done, it's just easier just to take it to the tailor and have it done professionally. So I've never really bothered with a sewing machine, although we've had one because John's actually used it for some of his projects. But yeah, some of the seams are very wonky, but you can't see it, so that's all right. If it was visible, highly visible, I wouldn't have done it myself. I would have had it made.
If you ever meet us on the road, come and ask to see, and then you can inspect it clearly.
No, don't. Anyway.
I hope you enjoy the video, and please, if you haven't subscribed, give us a thumbs up, add comments in the bottom. Comments about what you think of Hanneke's sewing, all her methods in it. And it's not, we're always open to suggestions, so if you have suggestions on improving it, maybe she can do another one.
No, I'm not doing another one. Not the big one. The small one I can do. In fact, the second one I think would be better, but it still wasn't. If I had to do the big one again, I would do it very differently.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, hope you enjoy it. Bye.
Bye.
I've finished cutting out the foam for the blinds.
Looks like a drum.
Yeah, well, as I say, I'm not very good at this. There are a couple of gaps, but I'm actually not too worried about those because we will be putting material on the front and the back, which hopefully will stop any light going through. This one I know that I made to shorter, the next one on the other side is a bit better. And here I had too much and now I've got too little. So it was a little bit difficult to gauge that and to cut it. But I'm generally happy with it. The other side looks pretty much the same. And so the next step now is to put on the front, and then we're going to put on a back, and I'll show that shortly. Right, so I'm going to make lines for the windscreens. I've already made this one. So basically it's taking this as a template and then putting these foam inside so it will help with insulation. And what I now need to do is I now need to put the whole thing together. The first one that I did was not that great. I made many mistakes. I had to do quite a lot again. So I'm hoping that this one will be a bit quicker and a little more easy to do. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just busy measuring and just working out a template from this so that I can cut it the same. Blackout black material, which makes it that the parts that are not covered by the silver are actually blacked out as well, so that the light won't shine through. And this I had to extend because I've got magnets in here, and this part here on the van is actually part of the door, so I had no way to attach it, so I had to extend it so I could get to the metal bits. to put that on, which I will demonstrate later when I'm putting this together. So the next step is to try and cut this. So I've pinned it up now, and now I'm going to just sew it together. We'll do it completely as one big piece. Finished sewing the back on. So what I've done now is I've put the pads in, and I've just closed it up here for now, and now I'm going to go test it out in the van and just pin the middle bit, because I need a seam here to keep this block in, and I need another seam here keep this block in. So we're just going to go test it out and see if it fits. I'm just trying to hold it up with magnets to see, but it does seem to fit. And that will go up a little bit, but now it's just a matter of trying to put in the seams, which is a little bit more tricky. This will go flat up, so that will cover. Okay, so I'm just going to pin up the seams, and then we'll give that a try. And I've just put pegs here of where the foam must go. What I do need to do now is this part here. I just need to put another side on this side and sew it on and sew it up. So I've already found my material and I've traced it out, so I can just cut this little bit here. this is fitting generally okay. So these are the magnets here. It doesn't want to hold it at the moment, but once I sew it in, it will be better. But this is generally how I'm going to place them. But the good thing is that it is fitting quite well over here. This just needs to go tight, but everything's will be closed once the the magnets are in. The next step now is to put on the satin braiding. So I'm just going to first just pin it and then sew together. And that hopefully will just finish it off nicely. Make sure that I keep enough space for the magnets. I've pinned all of this together now, and now we have to sew it and put the magnets in as we go. So I have 6 magnets here to fit in. So I have to sew very carefully, because if I make this too narrow, I'm not going to fit my battery, I don't know why I'm calling it batteries, my magnets in. And I've pinned here where I need to put the magnets. So let's see how we do. Okay, so I've sewed in the magnets, and you can see there's a magnet here. I just have to still just sew them in, but sadly I made a bit of a mess here because I didn't give myself enough space in the ribbon, so I would just sewed an attachment on it, which I'll just tidy up. It's actually better because this doesn't fit really as nicely in the van. So this gives it a little bit more space. So in a way, it's actually, although it's a bit of a mess on my part, actually has worked out better. So the last bit that I need to do now is I just need to sew this. I might just trim this a little bit more, the actual foam inside, so that I can do this with the machine. And then when that's done, then I just need to just tidy up a little bit, and then this blind is finished. It was still not as easy as I would have liked it to be. It still took me a little while, and I did switch the camera off at some stage because I was cussing and swearing quite a bit. But I'm generally still happy with the outcome of it. The thing for me is that it's actually not seen that easily. The black is very black, so you can't really see the sewing on it too much, and all this messy stuff actually is hidden because when you close the door will actually close on this, and we're not going to be sitting in the front staring at my blinds. So although it's not the neatest of work, it does work, and it will block it all out, and that is really the main reason for doing this. As I've said before, I have two left hands, and no matter how hard I try to do things neatly and beautifully, it always lands up looking not as nice as I would like it. So the challenge is to see if everything on this side has been covered. It looks pretty much like it. I don't think that any light is going to come through this. We'd have to try it at night though, but I'm pretty happy with it. This is the windshield cover that I'm busy making. I'm using the same foam again that I've cut into strips so that we can fold it up. At the moment it's still flopping because this part here is actually too long, and so the visor can't go down properly. So I'm going to try and cut that and see if that makes a difference. The biggest problem with doing a thing here is that you can't use any magnets and there's nothing to metal around it. So we've chosen this foam, hopefully that it will be strong enough to stay up. So let me see what I can do with the tops to get it to fit. Right, so today I'm going to be working on the cover for the main front windshield. It's quite a big bulky thing. We've got these same foam boards as I put in the side windows. So I think I did show a video of me cutting them, which makes it quite awkward to work with. So I'll take all of these out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew the edges. I've had to add on some extra material here, which I'll sew on because I was a bit concerned that this would still be too small for the windshield, and that it won't cover all of it. So we'll give it a try because the silver one is too small. I've actually already had to add on the board a little bit longer. So I'm hoping and praying that by doing this it will be able to cover everything so that light doesn't shine through. Today we're going to see if we can just measure the foam bits. It's not foam, I don't know what it's called. Yeah, is it foam? Just to see where they are so that I can eventually sew pockets for them. And we are also going to put a metal strip behind it. So we need to make a pocket for that as well, so we're busy measuring that out. What I'm doing now is we're still working on the windshield. John's very nicely cut some pieces of aluminium rods for me, which we're going to put in the backing of it. So we're going to make a pocket for it, and hopefully this will just stop the foam from flopping and give it a little bit of rigidity. So this is the first time I'm doing. I have to just hope and see that it works. Right, so I've finished sewing all the pockets. I'm going to put these metal slats in now. So having tried it in the van, we've actually decided to do it for each foam piece, because otherwise it still flops. So we've got all the metal battens in now, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sew them up, except for the middle ones, because we still just have to test those. They're a little bit longer to see if that works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to sew them in, and then they will stay like that. The next step now is to sew in the foam, which I've already put in just to measure it, and I've folded it up over here like this, so it works like a concertina. So like that. So what I'm doing now is I'm just measuring how that will work. Well, after having sewed all these seams on the machine, which turned out to be really, really difficult because it's already got the steel rods in it. It was very difficult and heavy, and I had to stand a lot with trying to sew it, and I made a big mess in one place, and my seams are going a little bit skew. But my foam pieces do fit, so I'm quite happy about that, and it folds up quite well and compact. After a lot of cussing and swearing and pulling out things, finally the frame is done. It seems to fit quite nicely, so now I'm going to start tidying it up a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to sew a ribbon on it just to tidy this up, and when that is finished I will then sew this top up, but I have to do this by hand. I eventually added more material because it wasn't quite fitting nicely on the windshield. It was just more here. I need material to stuff under the top so that it doesn't sag. And on this side I also added a little bit more material just to give a little bit more space. So this I also have to sew up by hand, and then hopefully this will be done. Okay, so the blinds are finished now. I'm going to just show how I'm going to put them on, and see how all of this works. So the first thing we have to do is just do our camera recorder and take this off. We've got quite a long rod on this side, which just needs to be bent under the camera here. And just There are just a few more spots that I'm just going to have to see how that works. The big test actually is to check it from the outside in the dark with the lights on and see if those places are actually causing a problem or not. I have a feeling that possibly not, because it's actually on the inside. But if it is, then I'm just going to have to touch those up with some extra material. And this is the final results taken from the outside. We won't use this shade during the day because it's far too cumbersome. So we've got another shield, just a normal car one that we can use during the day, just actually really just to protect the dashboard from the sun. As I say, this is just for nighttime.